Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another rousing rendition of what we like to call the Brethren Podcast. And when I say we, I would be remiss if I didn't welcome back my two illustrious co-hosts, Dr. Ajamu Loving, CFP, PhD, KFC needs TLC, and BBD to get through. And also Mr. Destrian Wells. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Doing all right. Feeling very well introduced, my brother.
It is a pleasure to be back in the house of bread once again. We left y'all for a minute, and we back. And this will not be the jump off, but this will be the jumping off point of a great conversation. So, in typical Brethren fashion, let's find out what we are drinking. Mr. Wells obviously is probably on Hennessy, but let's not just assume. What do you have?
What
Mr.
could
Wells?
it be?
Well,
Who could it be?
It's an evening spritzer that I have here. Vodka, cran with a splash of Sprite.
We've got full mixed drinks this evening. Okay.
Wow.
Doc, what you
2022 is bringing. I just want to say we bring it. But I can see him on video drinking straight Hennessy. I love.
This is really.
Oh no!
Really,
it is a spritzer.
Look, Doc, he gotta make it dog so he don't feel like you're doing that wrong.
Hey man, I don't feel bad about this at all.
I thought you were joking. You know what?
Hey, look, lifestyle changes, man.
You know what? This is a wonderful thing because we all doing different things. Do you know what I'm drinking right now?
What you drinking?
Mad Dog 2020.
Close. I am drinking Tito's and Great Value sugar-free cherry Kool-Aid imitation delicious drink. That's precisely what I'm drinking. I discovered long ago that Great Value had solved.
I thought you were saying they had Great Value.
Great Value has somehow solved the sugar-free Kool-Aid conundrum. Do you remember? There's a whole bunch of people.
Don't taste fake.
Man, when I tell you it tastes like regular Kool-Aid, I put so many people onto this and save countless lives and feet probably from diabetes.
Well, so here's what I tell you.
I just want you to know that there can be delicious sugar-free drinks.
Because if it's too good to be true.
I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this. So what it is obviously whatever sweetener that they're using makes it taste as much like when you have Kool-Aid fixed, like cherry Kool-Aid, where you put a bunch of sugar.
Can't be using aspartame, man, because I know that stuff is nasty.
No, you know what? I'm not even gonna say anything. Do you shop at Walmart from time to time?
Of course. Well, come on.
Then go ahead when you go down that aisle. I want you to try it. Get any of them: the cherry, the strawberry, watermelon, grape, all of that. And it mixes very well with vodka. You know, today I'm drinking.
So
Tito.
you just pour the packet in the drink?
No, they do have those that you can pour in the deal.
Oh, but
you know me, I like it. I like to feel like it's real Kool-Aid. So I've got a gallon bottle of water, and I'll fill that up with tap water, and then put 2 packets in there to get a gallon of Kool-Aid. And so now I'm mixing.
I gotta try that
with some vodka right now. I
it's gonna be weird for me because
it's delicious.
Now I'm gonna pour it in and expect to add sugar because that's just my natural. Don't. That's just my natural process of Kool-Aid. You know, if I rip that packet open, I got to grab sugar.
It would be way too sweet. Now there's another thing that you can do, and this is life hack in general. I've learned this one. I learned this one from the real skinny girls at Texas Tech. They would be like wanting to go out and drink, but they don't want to have additional calories or sugar.
Tonic water.
No, what exactly? That's what it would be. Okay, so this is do vodka and either water or vodka and club soda, and then they would add that same Great Value type drink I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. They have a liquid one that you can just squeeze into a drink, right? And so normally that would not be a palatable drink, vodka and water. But when you squeeze Great Value sugar-free Kool-Aid into it, then what happens is now the whole drink. This is the dangerous part. The entire drink tastes like Kool-Aid.
Man, this message has been brought to you by Dr. Ajamu Loving.
This is the danger.
Right.
The official sponsor of Great Value.
This has been Drinks with Doc.
Look, I'm telling you, man, it's a dangerous thing. I shouldn't have even told you that. I feel like I divulged the secret that I should have made certain that y'all can handle responsibly, and certainly all the rest of the public. And
well, I
assume no responsibility for this.
I got my whiskey as usual. I'm slowly sipping on Jameson. I ain't got no vodka.
You know what?
But this has been the extended drink session.
Oh my God! Yeah, I want
Dr. Lovey. Proudly touting the value of great value.
My cheap self, man. Look, don't get me started. Some of the products are inferior.
Hey, well, look.
When I had a winner,
tell y'all that Doc is a financial planner. He really lives it. Look. I feel like
shopping with me and I'm comparing unit prices and showing you.
Doc can be flashy if he wants to, but I feel like most of the time Doc is like the dad off Everybody Hates Chris, like Julius.
I try to just do it in my head, brother. I try not to do it out loud because, but
man, you just spent 5 minutes telling the joys of great value Kool-Aid now. Kool-Aid itself is already sitting there with like a quarter a pack unless they went up. So the great value,
man, I'm trying to cut it down, brother. I'm trying to cut the price and the sugar.
Right. Doc is like, look, I'll show you how to take coupons in Dollar Tree if I need to.
Hey, I will.
But based on that, this is going to be a great conversation that we have. Oh yeah, by the way, we are going blind into this. These gentlemen, of course, as per usual, most of the time they do not know what we're talking about tonight for real. So cheers to a great conversation. Bread being dropped and crumbs being picked up by those who need them.
All right. Cheers, guys.
I was only supposed to sip that, so that's my bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, gents, I texted you guys earlier as usual and was like, hey, give me a little time. You both graciously agreed. And so now we shall embark on this adventure that we call the Brethren Podcast. And tonight I want to talk with you gentlemen about the power of persistence. And the frame of mind that I come from is even from our perspective with this that we do as the Brethren Podcast, we obviously do a lot of things outside of this individually, collectively. But this is one of the things that I think, really is fulfilling for all three of us. Just the, being able to not even the platform of, speaking our minds, but just the open and valid conversation that we have with each other. But one of our largest obstacles is actually doing it, right? Like scheduling and life. But yet and still, we have persisted to do this. And Destrian said something the other day on a call we were on about, something great being right on the other side of that moment where you like, yeah, you know what is, that's it. And this Saturday when we were on the call, there was a clip where I can't remember who said it, but he was basically saying, once people fail one time, they feel like that's it. I'm done and I'm going to move on to something else versus, okay, I failed. Let me approach this from a different point of view. Let me try something different. Things of that nature. So that's the frame of mind that I'm coming from when I'm talking about the power of persistence. And I don't want to get it misconstrued. So I'm going to throw this in there early in terms of persistence, because we're thinking of this hard grind, this hustle, head down, focus, just, pounding the pavement. Any of the other cliches you could think of that just is like train moving forward, you can't stop it. But being persistent and being consistent with breaks and, being deliberate about both of those things, like deliberately knowing, hey, I am persistent and I'm going to get this goal accomplished. But at the same time, I recognize that I will need to take breaks within this journey. Otherwise, demise may come sooner or it may come from jump. So I just, starting that off, I want to get you all's opinions on the power of persistence and the frame of mind that you come from in terms of, me just, telling y'all earlier, power persistence, what came to your mind, whether it aligned or not. So I'll throw it to you, Doc, because you look like you itching. So go ahead.
No, I think persistence is, it's one of those traits that's extremely important, right? It's, I think everybody has good ideas. Like people get hit with those all of the time, right? Sometimes having so many good ideas can be your biggest problem because that's, you just get a bunch of them, right? But most of the time, any good idea, anything that's really valuable, that's worth your time, is probably going to have a decent amount of work associated with it. But it's also probably going to have, some time that you're going to have to commit over time. You know what I mean? And so, and typically things, to your point earlier, not going to be on just a steady trajectory in terms of, oh, okay, well, I'm going to work, I'm trying to start a business. So I'm going to work 9 to 5, just work this business though during those hours. That'll be it. That's not how life goes, right? You have to be flexible. You have to be mobile. You have to understand that things are going to happen that change your patterns, but that doesn't have to change your long-term goal and your trajectory and what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? So being persistent is not necessarily the same thing as being relentless, right? Unrelenting is difficult to maintain, right? Even the fastest runners, they run, 26.2 miles or whatever is a marathon, something like that, right? They run that. They're not, some of them do ultra marathons where they're running, 100 miles. But eventually there is an end to how much that you can run in one setting before you have to stop. You have to rest. Now, when that person stops and rests, they don't, it's not as though they're no longer a runner, right? They're still a marathoner. They're still a ultra distance runner. They're still whatever they were, right? They are still engaged in that. But being engaged in rest is also an important part of the overall process of actually being engaged in the thing. It's acknowledging your own humanity. And that's important. You got to acknowledge your humanity in whatever it is that you're doing, or else you're not going to be able to maintain it. It's not going to work out for you. You're not going to be able to keep doing it. It's unrealistic. It's just not how the world works. It's not how life works. And it's certainly not how things work in terms of physicality. You're going to have to take breaks. And so if you are intentional, to your word about that before, intentional, and you're mindful about what it is that you want to accomplish, and you're thinking about that thing in a long-term sort of, hey, let's plan towards it, plan breaks in there too, right? And sometimes you'll end up having to take a break sooner than you thought. We don't, sometimes you just start to feel like now's the time for my personal day on whatever it is that I'm trying to do. But see, the more that you have actively engaged, you've planned, you've put yourself in a position where this is a part of what you do, then a break is not a tragedy. It's not a deviation. It's just simply part of the plan. Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
Perfect sense. So
DJ, real quick, because I got to come to you with the spin. Because Doc made a point of, persistence does not equate to relentlessness.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people, have in their mind, is just this unwavering focus to where we get burnt out, overwhelmed, overcome, and and it kind of becomes, it's second nature for a lot of people, where, the grind, the hustle, all of these hard words that we use to describe something that we're doing to gain freedom, right? Financial, spiritual, living freedom. But we're, it's taking so much hardship, hardness, struggle, all of this grinding, hustle are, very, very abrasive words, to describe something that is like, okay, well, we got the mentality, like, oh, you got to go through the struggle. But in terms of this persistence and putting, planned breaks, how do we plan these breaks before we hit that point where, like, we've seen it happen to friends, and we've seen it happen to celebrities where it's like they get to the point where the doctor has to tell them sit down because all of a sudden you started having seizures, or all of a sudden you just pass out on an, or, and like, so,
listen, man, look,
go ahead.
I follow you. I mean, I feel like personally I've had to do that over the past month or so myself, where I can just feel shit coming on, and I'm like, you know what? Nah. Like, even as it relates to, like, you guys were fucking with me earlier, like I took my foot off the gas on dark liquor for a little bit because I felt myself becoming more sluggish and the recovery wasn't as quick. And then just kind of taking the foot off the pedal a little bit in general so that I can recover or whatever. But I think persistence for me, I have a formula. And I'm not saying that everybody else has to have one, but here's mine. Mm-hmm. I believe that you have to prepare, you perform, and then you pray and you play. So for me, I put those things in buckets. My preparation is going to determine probably 90% of if I'm successful at something or not, right? And so I'm spending more time preparing than I am performing. I'm probably performing 10% of the time. So I want my preparation to be immaculate. So I spend my time preparing. Then when I'm ready to perform, I can present the best product possible. Then I have the part where I pray. And for people that don't pray, if you meditate, whatever you do, that's your time to go within yourself and block out the noise. And so that's when you think about the things that you're talking about, like, hey, how do I not allow some failures or some setbacks to come in and interrupt my peace? You got to take that moment to, at a minimum, do that. That's also the time where you get your vision together. Like when you're in that quiet place, that vision is going to inform the way you prepare. It's going to inform the way you perform. And then ultimately, you've put your best foot forward. You need to schedule that. I'm going to go hard for 3 months. Here's my preparation. Here's my performance. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to meditate on it, make sure I can see the vision clearly. Now I'm going to take me a weekend and play or self-care, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to build these things in, build you a formula that allows you to be persistent. It's just like meal prepping or working out or a gym membership. Most of us, if we paying for something, we want to maximize it or use it. If you don't have a plan or somewhere to be, a destination that you're trying to go, a clear path, clear vision, I think it's easier to have your spirit broken.
But there's some flexes out there,
brother.
But if you're moving with another P of purpose, you're not going to be afraid to take a break because you're on purpose. Yeah, and your plan and your preparation is informing all of that.
So wait, real quick, because usually Doc be the one to say something real insightful first because he go first most of the time. But right now, you just said something, and I'm gonna take a great minute to pause on it.
Okay.
You said, as long as you're on purpose.
Yeah.
What did you say? You said
as long as you're on purpose, you're not fearful about taking a break because
okay. So look. So, and I want to point out a difference because most people don't, the difference of being on purpose and being on project. And we're so focused on being on project that we forget the purpose behind whatever it is that we're doing.
Man.
And there's a lot of internal disconnect. And I remember what it was, who said it. It was Gary Vee. He said, dwelling is the quickest way to fail again.
Yeah.
And, a lot of us, like I said, and I say this often, most of this is just me talking to these gentlemen trying to get personal advice. And, I just felt it was necessary to record and to let anybody and everybody else hear it. Dwelling is the quickest way to fail again. And it's like, if we are on project, we on project, and then we forget, we persistent on the project, and then it doesn't work. The timeline throws off, all of these variables that can happen to throw it off. But then it kind of, you kind of forget. It's like, okay, am I still on purpose? Am I still on what it is that I'm doing? Where it's like, hey, I'm trying to get this done, and a misstep happens, and it's like you felt like it's a failure because this part of the process broke. But it's like you still got the parts to build this machine. You just gotta, you're gonna have to wait on this one other part, but you still got the pieces, to keep going. And we don't often see that. But I just wanted to make sure that we didn't just gloss over this this insightful point that you just threw out there of staying on purpose.
Yeah. Man, I mean that right there. Well, because that's key, right? If you say like, hey, man, I'm losing weight, I'm committed to losing weight. That doesn't mean that you never take a sip of liquor or taste a sweet dessert or enjoy some time lounging in a chair instead of jumping around like a banshee while Sean T is yelling commands at you.
Meanwhile, Doc's sweating every day.
You know why? But because it's a part of my process, my plan, and I be praying while I'm doing it.
Help me finish. Look.
Jesus, I fell
off my workout.
There's been once or twice where I saw him extend his unchanging hand to me while I was in the middle of the workout.
I've been in the middle of my workout. That lady said 30 more, and I was like, well, look, I'm gonna do about 15 and I'm gonna get up out of here.
Hey man, I've had so many friends like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's on this app. You can go ahead, you can grab it, and then you can see the other workouts. And then they try it, and they like, man, I made it about 4 minutes in there. So you okay? Like, all right. That's cool though, right? Like the whole thing is like you start at a point, but then you keep going, right? But you take your break and you keep going. You make it through that 30 minutes. It's only 30 minutes.
But see, this is the part that I think people get so discouraged. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing anything and you just did 4 minutes, you're 4 minutes better,
brother,
than you were before, right?
Man.
So if you're staying on purpose, the only thing you need to do is defeat yesterday. So I did 4 minutes today. I'm gonna give you 6 tomorrow. That shit adds up.
Man, when I was at 294, when I was sitting up at that weight, I wasn't able to do jumping jacks. I wasn't able to really get down in a full push up. I was doing things and modifying. You just try to keep moving. Keep going forward. You know what I'm saying? Oh, cut out some of the sugar, try to do this, switch to the sugar-free version, do that. Start and get engaged in a process of moving towards your goal. So having a plan and moving towards it, that's important too. But man, look, the cool thing about at least the way I've done my weight loss is that I had this app where I tracked it the entire time. I used social media where I've captured it in terms of film or, footage of my pictures through the entire thing. And so I can see the entire process and I'm operating in a data-informed manner, right? So I can see the things that have kept me going forward. And I can see the things that have made it difficult for me. I can see what I was eating and what I was weighing at certain times and certain times of the year. Hint, hint, November and December. You know what? Really October, right? Because it starts with the Halloween.
It's fall.
They hit you with the children first.
It's the fall.
Once you start putting on extra clothes, like, oh man, gonna throw some extra cheese on that. It all sort of goes together in a general caloric density type of way. But you gotta know that
we're doing that year round because you got holiday, summertime, everybody barbecuing. The best you can hope for is because it's summer, you're gonna be more active and moving, so you can, kind of burn out. Because everybody be like, "Oh, I'm gonna give them, summer body ready," and then by around about May and June, you be like, "Look, they gonna get whatever they gonna get." Let me tell you something. I just came back from vacation, and listen, vacation is one of the freest times people gonna be free because it's like, look, you gonna get what I got. I'm not finna work.
And you know how the richest people on the resort? Hey, they the most shamelessly fat people wearing a thong. And look, that dude that's there,
man. Look,
he
that
out
man.
There, he don't.
The man
care.
is 300, and he's wearing a large shirt on purpose.
He ain't.
The pocket's fat and so is he.
Yeah. And when you see the pretty girls on Instagram posting their girls trip and their other pictures where they get.
All right, Doc, let's get it back on board. Let's get it back on board. Doc, let's get it back on board. This is not the after show. Get it back that's right. On board.
No, let's actually get right back because but actually, no, it does. It does plug me into something that is really important, and that's the realities, right? And when I was talking about a data informed process and talking about, hey, I want to be able to look back and see what I did and be able to use that information to help me decide what I'm going to do going forward. That's important with everything because all of it is surrounded by the realities, right? If you don't have the money to pay for a trip, but you really want to go on it, somebody's going to have to pay for it for you. If you don't want to eat the way that you are supposed to eat, it's probably going to impact you on the scale and you're going to be dissatisfied with the results, right? Each one of the things, the benefits, the costs, you have to be able to weigh them. And the more that you become comfortable with the information, the more that you understand, okay, I'm trying to move in a general direction, the more that you stop white knuckling life, right? That you stop getting in a position where you feel like, oh my God, I can't take breaks. I can't stop. I got to keep my hand onto that plow and hold on, right? If you feel like that, it's because you're not really living it. You see what I mean? You haven't regimented to a point where it's something that's going to be sustainable for you. And that can be difficult because then you start going through ebbs and flows where it's like I'm super committed. And then, a couple of weeks later, I don't want anything to do with it at all.
And then you just pick it back up.
I struggle with that too, right? God,
dang it, Doc. Stop talking to me.
Hey, man,
Stop talking to me. Talk to the people, Doc. Don't talk directly to me. This ain't for me. Listen.
Sometimes that word just get in there, but it is what it is, man. We all struggle with that, I think, right? To some degree.
That we add a new school of thought. We got the humanities, but I think we should also add in now the realities, man. Because I think a lot of what everything else is based in is to rhyme, I would say fallacies, but more like fantasies and fallacies mixed together, where it's what you think, but the realities of it is you going to need a break.
Yeah.
You can be persistent with breaks, and you can be persistent with scheduled breaks.
Well, just simply define the word. I think we often use words without even thinking about the connotation, the denotation of what they really mean and why we use them. So the very tone and inflection of the word persistence is about not quitting or giving up. It's not about not taking a pause or taking a beat if you need one. It's about not quitting. You may have to pivot or deviate from the original path that you chose. But again, going back, if you're on purpose, persistence is your best friend because over time, you get smarter. You get what Doc said, you have more data informed decisions. And so the work should become less difficult over time and you should become more efficient.
So, definition from Oxford Languages, aka I just Googled it. Persistence is a noun, firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. I like the fact that the definition includes in spite of difficulty or opposition, for the simple fact of that means when that happens, you're allowed to take that break. You're allowed to game plan. It's just like a football game. It's just like a sporting event. You could be down at halftime and you take that break at halftime. You take those timeouts and adjust and you go back in the game and you have your outcomes. Brother. I like the fact that it specifically says in spite of difficulties or oppositions, whereas, the analogy of sports, they take their breaks.
Brother,
boxing is 10 rounds. You think somebody can stand there for the amount of time of 10 rounds with no breaks and just get punched in the head?
No.
Come on, man.
They take breaks in the round.
They have to.
They agreed to breaks. I
Right.
watched fight.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you. You gonna hold me.
Man.
So
You gonna hold you. I'm not gonna fight you. We're gonna sit here for a minute.
We're gonna dance around for a bit.
Now, but then when I get my win, I'm gonna go. But they haven't ceased fighting. They are persistent in fighting this resistance the entire time. But like even in the madness, there's still rest. And when you can rest in the madness, well, that's when you're starting to show some level of mastery. If you watch Floyd Mayweather in the ring, I mean, the brother floats, right? He's not as fast as he used to be when he was younger, but his level of experience, as Destrin spoke to earlier, and your understanding because of the information that you've experienced, and now you can process it differently because you are better equipped now because of that experience. Now you in there with people who are great, and you make them look average.
Man, so it's crazy you bring him up. I was having a conversation with one of my boys a couple of days ago, and we were talking about, he called me about something, and he calls me the make it make sense person. Like, bro, make it make sense. And so I told him, I used Floyd as an example. It's not that he can't knock people out. I mean, earlier in his career, he would just go out there and put something on you, right? But see, I think he was dating the sport of boxing at that point. He was simply dating the sport. He's going out there and make money, do his thing or whatever. When he decided to marry the sport and he said, I'm going to do this long term, that's when you saw the mastery. I can get the same outcome and avoid all this punishment. I'm going to make better informed decisions. And then you look at him going from a slugger to a defensive fighter who's become one of the richest athletes and smartest businessmen that we know. But it was because he went from dating his purpose from trying to be the greatest fighter of all time, but then he married his purpose. And so despite what other people said, whatever they did, hey, you don't fight like you used to, it doesn't matter. I am undefeated and my outcomes are the same.
And it's
interesting that you talk about smarter, not harder.
Oh yeah, when you talk about like, what is it he preserving? It's not like he was getting hit in the face, really. He's preserving his hands. So he's hitting you with punches where he's not trying to knock you out. He's making sure he's not hitting you in the top of his head. When you see,
he's seen what's happened to the greats. He's seen what's happened to the greats, and that's an informed decision of I'm trying my best not to end up in that position.
Oh, he doesn't put himself in positions like that, even when he's in the midst of the fire and flame. It's very rare to see him get his square. And I think that's the thing when you start to understand what it is that you do as, a business, as a career, as a physical discipline, as a martial art, singing, whatever it is that you do. So when you start to understand it so well that you can riff off of it and do different things and make other folks look and wonder like, wow, and people who are good at it will look at you and say, wow, you're doing something different. You owe it to yourself now to be able to fully express that, right? And so that takes a little bit of organization. And if you express it very well, a lot of times what it is that you're very good at, I don't care if it's shining shoes, you can probably monetize. And you can probably make a living off of it, but you got to be disciplined about what it is that you're doing. And you have to understand the business, and you have to build in efficiencies and do better and better over time to make your life more comfortable and more bearable, because you're not going to be able to wake up every day in war, right? Even if you're great and skilled at it, a great boxer spars, he trains, but he ain't fighting every day, and you shouldn't have to fight every day, right? I think I think in the life of sometimes small business owners or people who are trying to gig or people who are trying to build up for themselves, or even people who are just trying to exercise and improve their physicality, they put themselves in places where they just, under the gun, under the fire all the time and never get a break. And it's unsustainable. And so you have to be realistic about all of the processes that you're governing yourself by, because at the end of the day, I'm going to say it at least once this time, hey, people are more important than things. And we have these desires. We have these things.
It's been a mighty long time since we've heard the word. And it's back, ladies and gentlemen. It's only been about 17 years since you heard it.
But hey, man,
are more important than things.
And you're the person at the center of that process, right? So you have to acknowledge those needs and be realistic about it. So,
I mean, I think that is as important as it is to be successful and to overcome obstacles. I think it's also equally important to protect yourself. And when you really think about what protection is having the awareness to take that break, especially for you just talked about business owners. I mean, I think that I know you're not making it exclusive to them, but I think about students and the pressures that come with that. I watch my kids sometimes. I watch how he tries to impress me or he tries to impress his mom. And I'm trying to instill in him, I want you to work hard and I want you to give your best effort. But I literally have to walk over to him sometimes and say, Dallas, it's cool, man. Just take a break. It's not going it's not going anywhere. It's going to be here for you. And
what's real quick, what's something that I feel like as adults that y'all know I'm a child at heart, really, but I pay attention to them. And I think with children, especially small children, is they understand that time is fleeting. And we're kind of in this place where we know it, but we don't acknowledge it like that. Where we all got kids, and we just think about the time of the time that they've been on this earth so far. It ain't that long in perspective of the difference. And I feel like for them, they things like they just know, like, hold up, I was just a baby. Now I'm this. And mom and daddy old. Like I used to think 30 and 40 was old when I was a kid. Now I'm 35 and I'm looking at like I used to think 60 was old. No, sir. Old is a thing. It's a state of being and you don't have to be it. But now I want to come to y'all with the other side of it, because we talked about persistence, and Doc, you made a great point about even in the madness still rest. Something in the Star Spangled Banner, which, I don't really give a damn about that song, but I think they were shooting everybody and then they woke up and the flag was still there. They went to sleep. They went to sleep in the war. During war, somebody goes to sleep, somebody is on watch. While somebody's on watch, somebody is resting. Even in the madness still rest. And as humans, specifically us, we kind of overlook that often. And DJ, you pointed that out where, it's not even specifically just business owners, entrepreneurs, the working class, it's students, it's everybody, where we're just, it's in us. But the next part is restarting after breaks and having the motivation to continue. Because persistence is, in spite of the difficulties, the oppositions, the obstacles, you still continue. So, and like I said at the beginning, it's often we get to this place where, you hit that first obstacle, you hit that first failure within the process, and it's like, all right, well, I'm done then. Because the whole thing, and not knowing, okay, I'm still staying true to purpose. It's just I've hit a hiccup in the process or the project part of it. Yeah. So restarting after these breaks.
Yeah, let me just start with this, because I think it's important to be careful. Yeah, we talk about the importance of taking breaks, but we are three gentlemen that are engaged in several different endeavors, work jobs, got kids, doing all of this and that, all this different stuff. That's not everybody, right? And so there are people who are just getting started, who have sort of a vision of where they want to go, and they want to get going. And they're like, I don't want you thinking about the break first. I want you to give yourself the opportunity to build a habit, to build a positive habit going towards where it is you're trying to go, right? And so I always say, give yourself at least 3 weeks, if you can, to start it off, to build a habit, right, of working out. That means you can't go bananas and do too much in that, on any one of those days where you can't go those 3 weeks, but you want to be able to go 3 weeks. And that's not to say there's got to be every single day, if it's working out maybe 5 days or 6 days a week or something like that, still build in a little bit of reasonable rest. But what I'm saying is when you start stopping early in the process, a lot of times, like Bernie Mac said, when we break, like you done, all you get, you were tired and a little bit sore. And so you decided not to work out that next day. Here's a funny little hint about being sore from working out. The cure for soreness when you're in a workout program is that next workout. Yep. And once you start, get through the warm up, you probably won't even be sore anymore. And then a few days later, you'll be less sore. And 3 weeks out, you won't be sore at all. Right now, eventually you'll get tired somewhere. You'll have an injury or something like that. Last week, you didn't see a picture of me doing insanity once because I didn't. All I did was watch my diet and tried to make sure that I kept that straight through that time. Right. But I didn't work out because my shoulder hurt and I didn't want to, further inflame it.
Real quick, Doc, because you just pointed out something, because in terms of what DJ said about staying on purpose and not on project, within your process and your projects, you had multiple things like I've got a diet and I'm working out. But because because you couldn't do one part of the process, you didn't stop the whole thing. You still stayed true to that specific, like, okay, I'm not working out this week because of an injury, but I'm still going to stay true to my diet. I just wanted to point that little tidbit out because that part is crucial in terms of being persistent, where it's like, okay, typically when one part of it kind of breaks down or we hit an obstacle in one part, if I'm trying to build something and I run into, I can't get the materials right now because it's on back order, then I just stop the whole thing. Versus like, okay, well, let me go ahead and continue fabricating the other pieces that I have the materials for, and we'll just add that when we can. We slightly modify, we slightly adjust. But I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead.
No, man, I think it's important to recognize that your process has to have multiple paths to where you're going. You're going to have to pull different levers, and sometimes you're going to have to pull one a little harder than the other, at different times. That's the way that it works. You got your diet and exercise, and people are like, oh, well, you exercise to lose weight. Not really, man. You have to really exercise a lot to outdo a bad diet. Same way, if you're a poor spender where you're spending more than what you're making, right? Guess what? It's going to be very difficult for you to save and invest. It's just real tough to get over those types of habits. So when we start talking about building a habit towards being persistent, there's it's important that you start adhering at the beginning, that you start to see some results, that you fully engage and commit to the process, right? And when you commit to the process, again, that doesn't mean that it's, unrelenting and you don't have any breaks at all. But even when you have the break, you're still committed to the process. In a business, you're going to have a hiccup. You'll have slow times a year. If you own an ice cream stand, it's probably pretty slow in the wintertime, right? That's it's not what you do. What do? You focus on what it is that you can control, how well you're able to supply those needs during the times when everybody's sweating and begging for ice cream. So
you bring up another good point, because I'm in New York and there's a Italian ice spot, and DJ probably sees this too in Philly. The Philly, Delaware area, where there's an Italian ice spot. And all of them, it's a chain.
Rita's.
Ralph's. Well, yeah, there's Rita's. Up here, we got Ralph's. I ain't going to say it out loud because they might, people might, they might riot because I can't say they're the same thing because, people will be like, oh, hold on, sir.
Right. Wait a minute.
They're both engaged in the same industry. Yeah. But Ralph's, all of the Ralph's franchises closed down probably right around about October, November, if I'm not mistaken, and they won't open back up until, after May, which is, what's May? Was it Memorial Day?
Memorial Day.
Yeah, they open up right around Memorial Day. So they shut down in the whole winter. And DJ, you might remember this, while we was at Tuskegee, a lot of businesses in Auburn that had predominantly student based staff, employees, they were shut down when school was out, or they would modify their schedules. And I think as business owners, a lot of people don't even, take into consideration those type deals so that things like breaks can happen in the persistence where it's like, okay, really understanding your industry and knowing, if breaks are available. I've got some friends in the automotive industry, work for Hyundai, Toyota, BMW, companies like that, where it's like they shut their factories down for, inspections, maintenance, overall rest, things of that nature. The amusement parks, they close those rides every so often. If nothing happens, ain't nobody complained, ain't nothing happened to it, they still gonna shut their ride down every couple of weeks just for basic maintenance, basic, look over. Your car, every 3,000 miles, you're supposed to take it to get that oil change. Every 10,000, you're supposed to get that tune up. There are breaks built into things in our lives that we don't really look at, and we don't do it for ourselves. That's the point that I'm really trying to make, I guess. In a long, short kind of way.
Right.
So two things I follow up. I follow up with two things. They build that in because you don't want what we call a single point of failure. Right. Mm-hmm. So without the break, you expose yourself to a single point of failure. Even the ability to reevaluate your business, right? One of my biggest philosophies is if I need to wake up and think about how I'm going to put myself out of business because somebody else is doing the same thing. So if I'm always in the business, always working on the business and not thinking about it, not taking those necessary moments of reflection, it's likely I'm going to get fixated on the ways that I have done it. And someone else is working on being innovative enough to be a second or third mover. They're going to come and put me out of the market. That's number one. Number two, you asked about the restart. See, sometimes it's not it's the framing of it. Yeah, you're restarting, but it's a continuation, right? So it's not necessarily that, you gotta pick all this momentum back up. But in order to restart, at least I think effectively, you got to have, this is where your circle of influence or your sphere of influence comes into play. I'm going to get a call from one of you if you haven't seen me do what I'm supposed to do or whatever deliverable we've talked about, and it has nothing to do with it impacts you or your business, none. Perfect example. A few weeks ago, I got a gift in the mail. It was from he's the best man in my wedding. Now he came to another business endeavor that I had with our men's retreats. He was at our men's retreat and we talked about some goals for the rest of the year. This man sent me a setup, and I wish I could show it to you guys right now. He sent me a setup. It's called Live Broadcast Microphone. And he said, this is as you take your podcast to the next level. I want you to have this from me because you're inspiring me to go follow more of the things that I want to do. Now, this is the best man in my wedding. One of the best dudes I know. The man that went out and made won't call his government out like that, but he's fine.
I know.
Right. But he also then, in part of the note, it was a challenge. He said, how close are you to being done with that book you're supposed to write?
Man, ain't accountability beautiful, man?
Right. Now, he buttered me up, gave me a nice gift.
Oh, it's a part of persistence, bro.
Slapped the hell out of me.
That's called constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
Hey, and where it's just like, hey, you doing okay? You all right? All right. Mm-hmm. All right. What about that book, man?
Right.
And it's not you beating the man over the head. What it is you see the book within him.
Right.
Right.
It ain't your homeboy that's been rapping for 40 years and you just like, you ain't asking him where his mixtape at.
I ain't gonna ask you about your book if I don't think a book is within your abilities.
Right.
I'm not about to do that to you. I'm not
trying to drop a rap album. Right. Hey, look, I looked at a clip. It was a clip from this guy Latbo. He was saying, when the beat fired with your homeboy, he should basically quit.
Uh-huh.
And his homeboy played him a beat, and he was just like, yeah, that beat go crazy. And his homeboy was like, yeah, I did my thing. I was like, yeah, that beat go stupid, don't it? The homeboy kept trying to, like, yeah, my verse though, you know what I'm saying? And I was saying, he was like, yeah, but and finally towards the end of the clip, he was like, yeah, but you could you could take all your vocals off and then just resell that beat and just sell it like a gently used beat. But to your point, Doc, is you know, when you see it in other people, and that's part of the persistence itself, is surrounding your people that will hold you accountable to your goals.
That's it.
To where when you do take these breaks, and oftentimes, and even then, let's also acknowledge the fact that some of these breaks can feel real good.
Yeah.
It don't even have to be. It don't even have to be the obstacle or the or whatever it is to stop you from it. It can also be this break just feel good.
But it might be the fuel that you need to finish. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so crazy. You do your better work when your energy is good. Well, at least I do my best work when my energy is good. When and I've learned to do this in corporate. I had a call today with my my managing director. She said, Destrine, if you need to go, that's fine. You don't sound like you typically sound. I said, I'm just kind of tired. Had a lot of events, been traveling a lot, this, that, and the third. She said, well, take the day if you need the day. I said, well, no, I got some stuff I got to do. She said, it'll be there though. And we can reschedule this. I said, no, let's just get through it. We were probably 20 minutes into the call. And she basically told me, like, look, we know you. Like, you don't have to try to prove this like warrior mentality to me. She was like, I suffer from sinuses. I know you do too. And you need to do what you need to do for you, right? That's pretty dope, because a lot of people would be like, if he ain't gonna make this call, if he's not gonna make it to work. When someone has achieved a certain level of success, I think that they also know how to encourage people to get there as well. So because I think, unfortunately, she has learned the hard way that she needs to take breaks, she's trying to prevent those things from happening to the people that she manages. And I think that's a dope thing, but I also think that extends to your friend group too. Sometimes me and AJ, you know, we have another business together. He may tell me, do not wake up and get on this call tomorrow. I'm not going to allow you to speak, even if you do. If I'm on vacation, he does the same thing. You need a break.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you need rest. Yeah. But all of that comes from just proper communication as well, because a lot of us do an amazing job at, you know, covering up what we need. Even then, like your boss, like, hey, you don't really sound. You're like, no, I'm good. You brush it off because we have this persistence. And I just want to say, you know, in terms of the persistence definition, obstinate, because I want to make sure everybody's on the same level that I am. You know,
they're gone.
Doctors and all the doctors and well educated. You know, I'm well educated. I've gone to college. I've gotten a degree.
You are a Tuskegee man.
You better say it. Prestigious illustriousness. Oh, matter of fact, Doc. Side note: Morehouse is playing Howard. Morehouse playing Howard up here in New York in September. I'm
aware.
We'll all be at the game. You come up here. You come up here.
I've bandied it about. It may very well be happening.
Hey, you come up here and let me show you a good time for your school.
Look at what you see how the Tuskegee people get. They feel like they can just give them one little. They got one little shed. They think they can take over the whole world. Boy, I swear to God, Tuskegee folks does.
It's been
give them some airmen in a shed, and you can't tell them a thing.
Look, you give them Morehouse folks a Martin Luther King, and they don't know how to act.
Oh no, we do not. We do not. I will promise you that we will act a mess every single time. But you know what's cool about these? You know what's real cool about these networks, these groups, these people that support one another, that give resources to one another, that help one another succeed, that continue to feed knowledge to one another, is that ecosystem, right? That whole thing is the embodiment of persistence.
But you know what else?
You see?
I also think that in terms of these networks and these groups and these, I'll call them institutions based off the original definition of institutions is, like centers of exchange of knowledge, and which is the definition of, networking and things of that nature, because that's what happens once people are connected. Is we have yet to see the true fruits of our labors in terms of that. Like we like, you got your friends and your colleagues and your associates that, y'all either, put each other on to something once or twice. You like, oh, okay, that's a valued asset. Cause and then you see it once or twice, or something happens, or you get invited to another event, and you just get into a room that you're not normally in, or something like that. You be like, okay. But if that happened that one time, the power of persistence. Oh yeah. We have yet to really see what it is. And that real quick, because I wanted to throw out the definition of obstinate. Yeah. Because it said obstinate continuous despite or in spite of obstacles, and it's stubbornly refusing to change one's opinion or chosen course of action despite attempts to persuade one to do so. And one of the things that Les Brown said is an African proverb: if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can't hurt you. And one of the things when we're talking about this persistence and these breaks and obstacles, a lot of it comes from ourselves. Much like, one part of the process kind of breaks down, or a delay comes about, and it's like you tell yourself, we might as well just stop here. It's not worth it now. Or I can't finish now. Or like in the workout analogies that you and Destrian alluded to, I couldn't do the whole 30 minutes. I can only do 4. I might as well stop working out right now because it ain't worth it. Not realizing, well, you did 4. How many did you do the day before? None, right? Right. Exactly. Persistence. Right. Is a process. Yeah. You know what? I think so many times I love looking at before and after pictures. Right. I love those. Like you see a person and they're in super poor condition and then they fixed. It's the end. They look great. Right. I love to see. I love HGTV because it can condense an entire home renovation into 30 minutes. I enjoy that. The house it's in shambles at the beginning. You look at it, people are stepping through the floor, right? And then at the end, it's a $450,000 house, and the people who renovated it are, making money off of it. And there's a family in it that gets to love it, and everybody wins, and it feels wonderful. And we hug each other. The credits roll. It's all wonderful. That's not life. Right. In real life, what happens is there's going to be difficulty along the way. It's going to be tough. And then they play some of that drama up even in the little 30-minute episode. Oh, well, let's be honest. I think we all get caught into that though, because of what we see. Yeah. Like a lot of people may not know that you can't renovate a house in a weekend, even though the show is called, renovate my house in a weekend. It really took them 4 or 5 days, right. No, things of that nature. Because and then even then it took a perfect example was Usain Bolt, fastest man in the world. And he was saying, a lot of people kind of just downplay it as, you just run real quick. Because the race is over in a few seconds, literally. Right. But he trained for years. And for each race, he trains for months. To run all we see is the end product where it's like this man just ran from start to finish just like that. Yeah. And we neglect what, the preparation, like DJ said, with the P's. The preparation is really where it's at. It's like, okay, so did you prepare breaks? Did you prepare, did you prepare all of these things that you need? Did you prepare for a failure in this part of the process? Did you prepare? Do you have an alternative? Do you have a plan B? Right. All of these things are things that we kind of know, but we kind of neglect because we want it to go like a HGTV where it's like, I want to do that. I want to start working out today. And at the end of my workout, I want a 6-pack of abs. I need, after every workout, you go over there, you kind of flex a little bit like, okay, all right, I don't see them. And some people don't see them and they say, well, it didn't work. Right. But some people see it and they can feel that something's there, lactic acid or whatever you want to call it. They feel that something happened. Yeah. And so they say, okay, let me do this again.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do this again. And let me do this again. And that's where the persistence comes in.
You got to have, just to put it on there, you got to have a little bit of faith. Now you ain't got to have a ton, right? All you need really is about
how much you need, dog?
About a mustard seed worth of faith.
Put that on some ribs.
But I'm telling you, man, that mustard seed of faith is going to put you in a position where you believe enough in yourself to keep doing the things that are necessary to cultivate something, to go cultivate that habit, to cultivate results over time, right? Because just like when you plant a seed itself, right? And it doesn't do anything. I don't know if you did this experiment when you were a kid, right? Where you take a little seed and then you put it in a wet paper towel inside of a plastic bag to germinate it. And then there's a little bit of sprout, but nothing happened. I remember when I got my first little seed and put it in there and I put it in the wet paper towel and I waited 5 minutes and I opened up the plastic bag and I was looking, oh, this ain't sprouting. This ain't working. No, you got to wait days for that. And then after you get the little sprout, you're so excited. And now the teacher says, well, yeah, let's bury it. And so now you're looking at a pot with dirt and you're watering dirt if you aren't thinking about where it is you're trying to go. Just feels like you're pouring water on dirt. Feels like you're clearing up and making sure there's no extra weeds that are growing around dirt if you aren't careful. But see, if you understand what it is that you are planting and what it is that you are growing, now you're cultivating something, right? So everybody else might look outside and they haven't seen you plant. So they just watching you water dirt. Hey, look at AJ. What are you what are you smoking? He out there, this man out here watering dirt. He looks like an idiot. Folks calling you crazy from the outside because they don't know what it is that you're doing, but you know what you planted. They don't know what you planted. They can't see what you're doing, but you're doing it. You know precisely what's going on and you're engaged in this process and you're persistent in this process. And if it rains, well, you ain't got to water, but the next day you got to weed, right? If it's dry, you got to water. Maybe you got to still weed, but you're engaged in doing what's necessary and you start to eventually see a sprout. And then you see some growth. And then you see some fruit. And then you start to take some harvests and you get good at it. And then you end up in that interesting position that everybody who has home gardens ends up in, where they have too much and they got to come over with a bushel of avocados and lemons.
And now you had
zucchini.
Look,
you
Doc,
got
you
abundance.
You better say it.
You got abundance.
You better say it.
You can give.
That's
you can grow. You can freeze. You can put yourself in a position where you can eat when others can't. You can put yourself in a position where you can feed the neighborhood. But you had to cultivate something. You had to have faith in the process. You needed to be dedicated in it, and you had to be persistent in it. And you had to do things while other folks looked at you and maybe in some cases ridiculed you or at least didn't get what it is that you were doing, but you knew what you were doing. You stayed engaged and you stayed the course.
So you two philosophers have brought out an amazing piece of this puzzle that I overlooked, honestly. And, you know, this is why the conversation has happened. The patience aspect of persistence, patience within persistence. Mm-hmm. Because we, like you said, Doc, and it has to be consistently reiterated, is persistence does not equal relentlessness. Mm-hmm. It is an obstinate continuance despite obstacles. Meaning when things happen that should normally, you know, trip you up and possibly even stop you, you still continue. But the patience part of it.
Yeah, man.
The patience part of it, being in something in persistence in our frame of mind, it is something that is constantly moving. But being able to understand duality and knowing that these two things can be present at once. You can be patient and persistent at the same time.
Man, yes.
That is mind blowing.
If you want an example, watch
DJ cooking ribs.
I was gonna say watch any old black man. They ain't in a
rush.
Get you a retired New Balance Hawaii shirt wearing. Also, keep in mind that brother got a pistol under that before you get to acting crazy. That's
no, what you call
just
it?
Letting you know.
Champ.
Yeah, Jam. Oh yeah, now he got a hook too now. Don't all them brothers could throw it. You know, if he got on barbecue shoes, them barbecue sandals, man, don't fight that, man.
He don't punch. He sock you.
Right. He gonna sock
he gonna sock you.
And he gonna go inside and he gonna tell Ruby that he had to knock you out for acting like
Ruby,
you ain't got no.
Not one of them young punks out, Ruby.
Right, the boy got act like he ain't got no sense. I had to
call the boys. Ruby had to knock a young punk out.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Y'all ready to play some cards? Shoot, I done ran a Boston on that fool outside already.
So real quick, dog.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, the patience piece, like,
yeah, man.
Funny it works like this. AJ, when we started talking to people about trading and just like financial freedom, literacy, or what have you, I should tell people we spell patience Pay.
You seeing where I'm going.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead and take them.
So I feel like you have to have that because things typically happen faster than we think. We just end up rushing the process, and you look back and there were probably a series of events that you needed to have happen before you actually got there so you could know what to do with it. Part of that patience is to have the persistence and the patience. You said those two things together. Putting those two things together, they allow you to be a complete person. Because as opposed to you just seeing one side of the trade, you're looking at both. I think it allows you to kind of grow into a better leader, especially if you're talking about business. Being patient, staying in the lesson, not seeing it as a loss. Understanding that you can have setbacks, but you can learn from them. And then you may make connections and contacts, and you start to build your team around you. And you're able to be a lot more patient because now you're not the person that has to do everything. And I think that pressure sometimes creates the impatience and the imbalance. But once you have the right people around you and the right process, the persistence part, that part is paid off. Yeah. Now the patience part has to kick in where you now have to trust other people with part of your idea, so to speak, in order to get it to where ultimately it's going to go. Like when we talk and we think about things, because we have three different perspectives, sometimes our conversations are much longer than what most people would have and want to talk through. Like when we actually are not on here and we're just talking, we may get on the phone and go for hours. It requires a certain level of patience, but what we take away from that and we go implement afterwards is more valuable than what money can buy. And the tables and rooms that we've collectively been able to help each other get into because of the persistence and the patience to let the relationship develop, let that thing slow burn a little bit instead of just saying, hey, what do you have for me right now today? What can you do for me? It is crazy. It is PAY.
Y'all think y'all want to see a black man own a credit union?
Hey man, and I think there's a certain level of patience that has to go into every big goal. Right?
It does. Yeah.
You have to gotta be patient without being complacent.
You said it.
Patient, right?
Even with HGTV, even though we see that those people have renovated a 55 million square foot home in 1 hour episode, possibly, we know that it took them literally weeks, if not months, to do it, and they've edited and condensed it down. Most of us know that. Some of us may get caught up in the illusion.
And that's the thing when he was talking about reality before. This is HGTV. They have a commercial industrial crew out there working around the clock So they're taking a 6-month time frame and they're conditioned.
Hey, I've gone down the rabbit hole of figuring them out for real. And Destrin, you might also know one or two of the people that have been on a couple of those shows, the truth about them. So, it's local contractors, and, a lot of the stuff is not finished, not done. And, that's part of the illusions, but that's what Doc brings in. Exactly. But it's like Doc said, we got to really look into the realities of things and not just what we perceive to be right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, hey, let me go, I want to open a store. Okay, let me go buy this. I tell people all of the time now that my wife and I are homeowners, and I don't truly really like to say that I'm a homeowner because I'm paying a mortgage. The bank come take this, and anytime if something happens, that's part of this process, right? I'm not a full owner. I'm gaining piece by piece as I pay that principal down. So, but despite all of that, I tell people all the time, they don't really put on TV. We see house hunters, then people go, I got this budget, and they can just go look at 3 houses, and they pick one, and boom, got a house. This process ain't that easy. It's not that easy. Even if you got the money, cash, that process don't happen just like that. And that's part of the realities that people have to understand instead of the fallacies and the fantasies that we're shown, believe, where it's like, okay, that just don't happen overnight. You want to open a store, you're not just going to go downtown, find the perfect spot. It's going to be within your budget. You want to open up, put your inventory in it and open up, and people going to be lined around the corner. That's not the realities of it. No. The realities is it's going to take you months to get the approvals, the licenses, and all of that stuff. And then when you finally open, nobody may not even show up. People that you thought would show up may not even show up. And that's the realities of it. So how do you plan for that? How do you prepare for that, but not hope? One of the sayings that I've always held strong to is my dad, and I know it's not his, but it's an old black saying. It's better to have and not need than need and not have, which basically says prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Sure.
Where it's like, I know these things are possible to happen in this process. So if they do arise, I got a contingency plan. What's your contingency plan? I got it ready.
Over 80% of the small businesses that fail in this country fail because of cash flow issues. That's the number one reason for most of the failures.
Iconic talk. Y'all don't know.
Hey, brother.
They don't know nothing about that yet, dog.
Hey, man. We do know. We got to give a little blast to the future. But the important thing about that is like, man, this is about assessing and looking at the information that's out there to make it, having real informed decision making. That's what getting to the realities is about. It's about knowing how long the process takes typically, and then building in the fact that there's probably going to be some contingencies, some stuff that happens that could potentially slow it down. You can't be Pollyanna about business or life or even your own physicality and working out. Like, you're going to have times where it's not going to go according to plan. And so what do? You just abandon the entire process? Do you just get to the place where you're just not even thinking about any of what it is that you said you wanted to accomplish because you reached that first hiccup? And I'm gonna be honest, I love the promise and the way in which these young, I'm a college educator, right? I work at a university with kids, and I see some of the brightest, most promising people out there, but I also see some questions when it comes to toughness and tenacity and grit. These are things that are cultivated and built over time. And I think sometimes a lot, parents, in an effort to try to keep kids comfortable and have them not go through what we went through, remove those obstacles from them and some opportunities to be persistent. And I know this is a whole other additional conversation in a whole nother direction that you could go. But my point is that, like, we cannot lose the toughness that you have to be able to maintain to operate in this competitive world, and certainly in the business world, right? You have to be willing to engage, and you have to be willing to overcome obstacles. And when things get difficult, and they will, because anytime you're trying to do something that has any real value in it, there's going to be some tough times. And so what do you do in the tough times? That's where your character is revealed. That's when you're going to show you've got the mettle to keep going forward, to continue to be better, right? And show that you are worthy of the vision that you set forth for yourself. And so when we talk about faith, there's faith obviously in the fact that you have something that can be successful, and you have, maybe, you believe in God and he's got a plan for you. But then there's also faith in yourself, right? To a certain degree, you have to be confident enough to say, I'm worthy of this effort, and I'm going to continue to do it because I know I can get there. And all the things that I've done, people look at me like, oh man, getting a PhD is hard. Being black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu is hard. Losing 100 pounds hard. All these things, yes, they're hard, right? But a big part of the things that you do, it's got to be, hey, some level of belief that, hey, I can. And then your accountability partners, and whether it's pictures or conversations, whatever, you're worth it. Engage in it. Recognize that as big as your goal seems, you're big enough for it. Just break it down into those bite-sized steps and keep moving towards it. Stay persistent. And no matter what other people see, remember what's out there, but be attached to reality as you do it, right? Because you could be watering dirt if you didn't plant the seed, right?
Yeah.
You have to know what it is that's going on before right? That's a whole part of the process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Man, Doc, I'll come behind you and I'll say this. We talked a lot about overcoming, some of the challenges that come along with trying to be persistent, trying to stay patient, and creating a process and finding our way. But I'd like to advise against this thing too. Success can cause a lot of people to deviate and stop as well, because if you have not properly set the goal, you reach one small milestone and you could potentially sell yourself way short of what the ultimate end spot could be. So just because you've hit one milestone, you still need to remain diligent and persistent and really focus on what it is and challenge yourself to grow bigger and think bigger. Because I think sometimes we look up and we've experienced a small amount of success. And again, someone else was watching you and they were creating a plan off your plan. And they said, well, he stopped there, she stopped there. I'm going to go ahead and take it a step further. Like, you have the ability to really push things through when you have that persistence and that patience. So I caution you on, yes, please stop and celebrate those small victories, but do not stop there. Create bigger and newer ones. Go ahead, AJ.
As per usual, I drastically appreciate you gentlemen for embarking on this journey with me and having this conversation that we just so happen to record. Because it's for me. I'm selfish. This is strictly for me and for no one else, but we recorded and I accidentally posted for the world to hear, so that hopefully they can get something from it. And hopefully somebody and everybody did. There was a lot of points. It took a turn towards health for a while. And even then, in the grand scheme and the bigger picture of things, when we're talking about being consistent with your breaks, it is part of your health, whether it be mental or physical or both, spiritual, all three. Just, it is necessary. And we know that, but we often neglect that. So this is your reminder to take a break, and a real one. Because I fall victim to myself where, I'll take a day off, but I still check my emails. I'll take a day off, but I'm still looking at the work communications, whether it be Slack, Microsoft Teams, Ring Central, all of the different apps that the companies have us on, patience. Yeah. The power of patience within the process of persistence is paramount. There's a lot of P's, man. I ain't pushing P, but what I am telling you is I'm pushing the concept of being able to be patient within the process of persistence and also to take breaks because it is needed, it is warranted, and it's mandatory at this point.
Yeah, man.
I see too many of my constituents burnt out on the sides, metaphorically,
Yeah, man.
And literally, where it's just like I see it. And part of the accountability that we hold amongst each other is, hey, you look like you need a break.
Yeah,
I do it with DJ all the time.
Hey, man, it's important, man. We're here to take care of each other, brother.
Of course.
That's what it is, man. We're
here
to take
because
care of each other.
Because it takes an outside perspective to even see. Like, it takes somebody outside of you to look at you and say, you look tired because you were so persistent that you didn't even have time to look in the mirror to see how tired you look, that somebody outside of you had to say, hey, you look tired.
Yeah.
And some of us will take it a certain kind of way, like, but look, you needed it.
Well, and I think that's good that you can have people there that can try to push you forward, but also take care of you and show you that, hey, again, people are more important than things, and you are an important person, and you can't cede all of your health and wellness and well-being to a goal because that goal is a thing, right?
Some of your friends,
and so you have to take care of yourself along the way, man. Yeah.
Some of your friends won't tell you got a booger in your nose, and that's the truth of the matter.
Yes,
the truth of the matter.
And I know I have two gentlemen that'll let me know immediately.
Like, hey, let me tell you something.
Yeah,
before it gets slimy and start messing up the meat, I'm gonna tell you, hey, Doc, we can't record. You got something in your nose. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that that something was gained from this, like we said at the beginning. To bread being broken and crumbs being dropped, and hopefully somebody can pick up something from it. So we hope you do. Just reminders to have a contingency plan within your purpose. This is your reminder here. If nobody else is telling you this, if we are your accountability, we take that very seriously. And we relish in that position because it's for us as much as it is for you. Have a contingency plan. Plan your breaks. Persistence does not equal relentlessness. It does mean obstinate continuance. They sound like the same thing, but they're not. There is a duality within the process. You can be patient and persistent at the same time. Doc and DJ said it. When you germinating seeds, you got to be patient. When you boiling water, you got to be patient. Watching wet paint, you got to be patient. It'll happen. And it'll happen. You've seen it happen. So just relish in the process. Be persistent. Take your breaks, but be persistent and understanding that part of being persistent means even when obstacles come, even when breaks are planned, you still continue on your path. Even in the madness, still rest is what we are claiming it on today. Even in the madness, still rest. Have a planter's patience. And I say that as somebody who has recently rekindled my love for home gardening and home farming. There is a patience that comes that is, I'll be honest. I'm one of the ones that I'm gonna go to Home Depot and Lowe's and grab some of these plants that's already started. Okay.
Hey, I'm not mad.
But some of my more exotic fruits and vegetables, I will have to germinate the seeds. So there will be patience planned into it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, we appreciate every single one of you for joining us on this journey. And we left y'all for a while with nothing. So hopefully this will suffice for another unplanned or planned break within the persistence that is brethren. We are persistent in continually providing positive material for our people and our community. And, our constituents, our world, whatever you want to call it, our ecosphere, whatever. Put whatever name you want it. That's what we plan to do. So we deliberately don't come out every Monday, every Wednesday, every Tuesday, because that's unrealistic in our worlds. And we majored in the realisms over here, the realities. We look, we went to school under the humanities, and now we have embraced a new school of thought brought to you by Dr. Loving, which means he qualified to do this kind of stuff. He can create a new school of thought. The realities. That's what we dealing with over here. The realities.
That's what
the accountabilities, the realities. We dealing with the T's over here, okay? All of them combined, okay? But we appreciate y'all. Be engaged in your rest. Take an active approach to your rest within the process of you being persistent on whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And we'll be here in this process. You know, even if we ain't got nothing new for you, you can revert back to a lot of our old episodes and it's still going to ring true. Did we do that deliberately? I don't know. We'll find out at the end of the next episode. With that being said, you can follow us on all social media at Brethren Pod, BREADRENPOD. That's spelled bread, like bread, because we always about our bread and we always getting bread. You can follow Dr. Ajamu Loving at Dr. Ajamu Loving on all social media. Ajamu Loving on Money and You on Facebook. You can follow Destrin Wells at Empower, Engage, Execute on all social media. And you can follow me at the Brethren Pod. Every now and again, I'll tell y'all where y'all can also follow me at 248. Those are the numbers, MMBB. And we would just like to say that this episode has been brought to you by Econics. You'll find out more about that later. And also by LaFlight 87. Go get you some. With that being said, gentlemen, cheers. I appreciate the conversation and knowledge being dropped. I love y'all. We love y'all, and there's nothing you can do about it. Hopefully, we'll see y'all persistently in the next episode.